All right, so this is what we're going to be working on here. We're going to use everything that we've talked about, right from our components to states, and from states to the styling to the project structure there like that. So the first thing we need to do is to set up our projects, which is what I've already created a folder for here. So rating app. So what do we need to do? We need to create our app. And how do you create the app? So we're going to follow the same process. So npm creates vits at our latest like that, which is the one that is going to set up the vits, and the vit is going to walk us through the language or the framework that we want, or the library that we want to use. So once the thing is done installing the stuff, it's going to ask us, do you want to use React, do you want to use Vue or other thing that are there like that, so that it's used to work with. But we're going to pick the React, and once it's done, we set up our project, and from there we just start working on everything. But while this thing is still loading, so what do we need to do? This is the content here. So we have this design where the user, because you need to understand what you are trying to solve. So we need to build this page, and once we build this page, the major thing here is that the user should be able to rate, and based on the number that you pick there, we are going to redirect, or we are going to show another UI, and from there we talk to them like, okay, you selected 4 out of the 5, because if you look at it from the list here, we have 4 this circle here. So if you click on this first one and you click on submit, so it's going to show this UI. We are going to use the conditional rendering here. So I'm going to be explaining what is conditional rendering. I've not explained before, because it's the same app component that we're going to be using, and based on whether you've clicked on this submit or not, it's going to change the UI there. So the first one you're going to have is this, and once you click on submit, to change the UI to what we have there, and all the necessary info are going to be displayed. And we're going to be using conditional rendering to achieve this thing. So what is conditional rendering? This is what you can use to talk to React that this is the component I want you to render, or this is what I want you to show where this particular condition is met. And when that condition is not met, this is another thing I want you to show there. Like I am going to see how to put everything together. And again, today we're going to be we might not get there, but we're going to create a component for this. So again, through all this circle, we're going to create a component, because if you look at it, this is what you have there is what is here. It's just being reused like that. So there's a lot of things we're going to learn from this, and even something that we've not talked about before, which is like the conditional rendering. And I'm going to be talking about how to render a list, because I won't be typing this in myself one by one. You can actually do it, but I'm still going to show you how you can handle something in a form of list. Because when you have items that you need to keep displaying every time like that, you make it in a form of a list. Maybe for example here you have a list of items, but this list items is coming from the backend, and there's no way you be be calling each one of them one by one. What do? You look through it and you tell the React how to display. But here we call it list rendering. So for that other one that you can use to just show something based on what is going on your page, we're going to be using the conditional rendering for that. And this class is going to span 2 classes, because I don't think we're able to finish this. This is so yes. And from there, it's going to install the bits. And once it's done installing the bits, there, as you can see, it's going to install version 5.3.0 like that for the create feeds. So this is the tool that will now ask us some series of questions. Then it will set up our project for us. And once it's done setting up our project, so we just copy all the materials that we need from here. And what are the materials that we need from here? We need the colors, because we want our design to match what we have there like that. Anna is going to have it. So the images, we need it like that. So I'm going to show you how to add this in. So I'm going to copy everything here, put them under the project that this thing is going to set up for us. So I don't want it to create another folder for me, so I will just use dot. Dot means put everything inside your current, dot slash mean current folder. So if I just use dot, which is going to use the name of that current folder, so package name. So what do you want to do? Go down to the React parts, then from there pick the JavaScript and it's going to set up the stuff for us. But we don't have the necessary modules right now. It have all the record, we don't have it, and that's why it's telling us that npm install, then npm run dev to start your server. So the first we need to use the npmi, which is the same thing as our npm install. So it's going to go through this package.json, and to find all the dependencies and the dev dependencies, and it's going to install everything for us like that. And once it's done, you are going to see the node module. So while it's doing it, you are going to see the node modules here, which is where it is going to save all those things. But while the thing is going, we can start putting on the necessary material that we need to get there like that. So the first thing I want to do is to pick all these our materials here, which is the icon and this illustration. Thank you. Those are the one I need right now. So I'm going to drag them inside the asset like that. I'm not putting inside the public because I don't want it to be available through the URL. But if you want it to be available through the URL, you can put them inside this public. But I'm going to put it inside the assets like that. So which other thing do we need? So the other thing we need here is our color. So the style guide, I'm going to copy that one too. I'm going to put it inside the source directly, or let me put it inside the project folder. So directly like that, so that anytime I need anything from it, I'm just going to pick it and do what I need to do. But while that one is loading, so let's go inside the CSS. This thing is generating some dummy CSS by default, so I don't need them. So I'm going to clear them and replace it with my own basic setting we normally do. So when you are creating your page, the first thing we need to do is to do some reset, which is what we're going to use this asterisk to do, like that. What's wrong with this? So what we're going to do here is to do the reset like that by using our P0, M0, the box sizing, border box, and so forth like that. And the like this is down. So 0, then the margin should be 0, the box sizing should be border box like this. Again, to my font family, I always love to set the same font family by default to all of them, which is going to be the system UI. Yeah, so it's going to set up my system UI like this. We're going to be using the default system fonts based on the system you're working on, like that. If you're working on Apple or some other system, so you have that default setting, it's going to just pick all those fonts and use the default one like that. So the next thing I need to do is to set up my this variable, because I always love to set variable for all my colors since I'm going to be using it. So with this is the color for orange, so I will just copy everything from here and convert them to variable like that. So why the stuff is still ongoing, and what's wrong is network here, because this needs to be installed before we can do anything. But we just do all the setup down like that. Here is good. What's going on? And it's because of network. Because like some tools or some plugin that I have, once they don't see network like this, they'll be trying the stuff behind the scenes and it will be slowing down the VS code. So let me just convert all this in, like all this AI stupid stuff that I have. So they always connect the internet to do some stuff. And once the network is not okay like this, it will start slowing down my VS code. So close this space, 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 then semicolon, so that I can convert it to a proper variable. So all this we have been doing it every time. Say the same thing with me. So like that, does that we are coupling all of them together in a different way. So we have orange, and it's supposed to be showing the color here because the VS code is still loading. Yeah. So what do we need to do here? So we need to select our body like this. So the weight should be 100%, like that. It's just all the basic setting we used to do. So the minimum height should be 100 ph. Always cover up the entire screen by default in the height like that. Overflow X should be hidden, even though I don't think anything will go outside on the X for this project, but it's always good I will set it. But there is a gotcha here, that is something that used to make people go crazy with this thing. Yeah. You're actually working on this, you're putting everything inside the body. But inside this index of HTML that this is generated, there's actually an element there known as this div. Let it have ID of root. And inside this div, that's where the React is going to put everything. So which means this one by default, it will not cover up all the setting of the body that you do there. So you need to make sure that this thing, it have the same setting as the body, so that by the time you are putting things inside it, it will not look as if some areas are not arranged properly. Because what I did here is going to happen on the body. It's not going to happen inside this div. And you know that the stuff is going to put everything inside this div. So in order for us to make sure that the setting too is applicable there, we need to select that element. So what I'm saying here is that the same thing I'm applying on the body, I'm applying on this element with this particular ID. Don't forget, this is how we select ID there. Because if you look at the HTML, we have the ID of root, and I'm targeting that element. So whatever I'm doing here, I'm doing it on that root element too, like that. So which I'm using the all selector that we've already talked about, like that. So and I think all this one I set up already. This is global styling that we have, like that. And again, I think the body should have background, which is this very dark blue. Because let me see the design. So if you look at it, it actually have a particular background that is there, which is let me see, it should be the black color. So I'm going to, because I don't think they give us a color here. These two color is what we're going to compose together to form the gradient. As you can see, there's a gradient there. The color is not just pure color, like that. So it's going to be gradient. But yeah, I'm going to just give you a background of black by default, and the color again. So which means all the text that will be inside it, it's going to be this light gray. So I'm going to call the var with the light gray like this. So save it, and all the text inside it should be this. But now we can't run the project because the stuff is still installing this our module. So I'm going to pause the video. Once it's done, with this in there, we can continue from there. Yeah, so this thing is done installing. The next thing we need to do now is to spin up our server and add this spin up our server. So let me just clear everything that I have on this window. Then npm run def. If everything is okay, we should have our server running on 5173. Yeah, 5173. So which means what happened to my browser? Just close like that. So restore everything back. So since this thing is done now, we can just open it and we should see the React displaying there. So while this one is loading, so let me go into the app.jsx and remove all this unnecessary stuff that the thing is importing there. First of all, I don't like this app.css. I'm not using it because should I use it? Okay, let's just use it there like that. So but I'm going to remove all these bit logo, the use states. We need it because we need a state to keep tracking of the value you click and whether the user has already clicked on submit button. So we need two states for that, but this is not the state I will be using, so I will clean it. So remove everything that is inside it too. So remove everything like this, so to make everything look clean. And inside it I will just put div like this, and inside the div I will just have testing, and if everything is okay, we should kind of have this text on the screen. So for the CSS part too, the default setting they are doing, so I will select everything and wipe it off like this. Is make it empty for now. So clear this one. For the style guide, we actually took to use the overpass as the fonts, like that. But right now, we don't care about that. We can connect to it later on, but for now, it's not the major stuff. So I have my CSS cleaned. I have my page cleaned, my index too with some basic setting. I don't need to open this one again. So I'll do things from the component style and this add dots like that. So again, clean this, remove this one. The style guide, do I need anything from it again? No, I don't need. And again, they are telling us that the font should be 15. So I think let me go back into my index.css and do that one. So the fonts, by default, the font size should just be 15 pixels. Like it's 16. I don't think this 15 is needed. Let's just leave it the default one that is there. So it's 16 by default, and this is 15. So let's just leave that as 16. And let me go back to the browser. Yeah. Then once we load, so from here, let me just put my localhost 5173, localhost 5173, like that. Leave it to do nothing. So let me just type it, localhost 5173, like this. And if I type it correctly, we should have our page with that text of testing, because I've removed everything that this needs to use by default, like that. So still loading, and once it's done loading, we should have the text with that background. And we've done some settings, so it's going to be at that corner edge. So I'm going to move these two things side by side. So my browser to one side and my VS Code to the other side of the screen, there, like that. And currently here it's complaining that the use state is not being used. So we don't care about that. So what do we need to do now? So here we need to display two things. So we either display this content here or the other content at this place here. So this, you are not the one I want to see. Where is the other this thing? So this is what I want to see here. So is either you show this box or we show this box. But if you look at it, the design of this box is still the same thing as what we have it. To me, the difference is just the content that is inside. So which means we are going to create a content for the question, and at the same time we're going to create the component for this content inside it. But we either show this one or show this one based on whether the user has already clicked on this submit or not. And again, too, on this screen, there is something that is missing here, because we should be able to go back to that screen to do another rating there. So we're going to add something here like a text by saying go back. And once you click on it, it will remove this one and it will bring the other one back. So the first thing we need to do is to achieve this our layout like that. And I'm going to be using components for all these things so that we can utilize everything that we've talked about there. And don't forget, we need to make this thing responsive, but I won't be caring more about that for now. So what do we need to do? We need to go into this our source and create a component folder there. And inside that component folder, we have three components. No, it's more than three components, so I'm going to bring them out. So here, components, and inside it, I'm going to create a folder. The first folder is the layout, because everything I want to do will be inside their own different components. So this is going to be JXX. No, I'm going to create them in, because I want to be creating some CSS. So inside the layout, we're going to have the page, or we're going to have the index.jsx like this. And if I save it, it's going to create two folders. The first folder is component. The second folder is that layout here. And inside the layout, that's where you now having this index. So again, too, I'm going to create another one that we need here. So the other one is going to be uh the rating. So I'm going to call it rating circle, which is that 1 2 3. So inside this place, so I'm going to have index.jsx like that. You see that we now have layout, we have the rating circle. So which other component can we derive from here? So like that, this is the one. So we need this button too. So we need this button like that. So I'm going to create another component for that. So inside this place, create another component. So it's going to be button. Inside it, there's going to be, you might be surprised, why am I using index? If you like, you can actually call the stuff button too, like that. But I'm just calling it index like this. And there is a reason why I'm doing that, which is something you're going to see later on. But under the button, we can create its own module CSS. Under the layer too, we can create its own module CSS. Just like what I explained in the last class, I will always be using the modules. So inside this place, I'm going to have the style dot module dot CSS. The name you are using is depending on you. So but this module.css must be there. If you like, you can call it layout.module.css, but right now I'm calling it style.module.css. This one too, instead of calling it index.css, you can call it layout. Whatever naming you are using there, it's going to be part of the parts. But anytime you're using index is always the default file that you used to be inside it. Just like your page when you're dealing with HTML. You know, when you go to the page, you don't need to specify the index.html. Anytime you go to a site, it will give you the content that is inside the index.html by default. The same thing here too. Whatever I'm exporting from this index, it's as if it's just coming from this layout directly, because the index is always like a bare file that used to be inside the folder. But you're assuming you rename this one as layout.gss. So by the time you're importing this stuff, it will be layout then slash another layout.gss instead of it to just be slash layout. So this one is just from the part stuff like that. So what do we need to do? We are working with this layout first. So I'm going to create this my component, and to create the component, just name your function and give it the name of the component you want like that. So what's going to be our component? So it's going to be layout like this, and it's going to return some JSS code like that. So inside this, I'm going to have the div like this is going to be layouts. What's wrong my VS Code that is not? And from there, what do we need to do? Export defaults, then layouts like this. So I'm coming. Let me restart my VS Code so that I don't have all these unnecessary stuff that is going on right now. All right, so let's just continue from there. We have this our layout, so saved. Once everything is okay, then we can go back into this our app. So I don't need to show this one again. What I need to do is to put the layout like that. So layouts, this thing don't start again. My contents. Yeah, but this thing is not going to show because it's not expecting anything from us. No, before you can show anything that you are passing into it in this form, you need to receive the prompts for children. But no, I'm not receiving it yet, so it will never show this content. It will only show the content that is inside it here, which is layout. So the content I'm typing here, you will not see it. The only thing you see is this layout. So later on, we're going to receive the children so that whatever you pass into it is what is going to display for us. But for now, we just want to see that this stuff is there. So it's complaining that it doesn't know where this is coming from. So let's import, and as you can see, now, can you see what it's doing? And if you look at the importing part, you see that that index is not there. What do they have is layout, because it knows that the index is just the default uh, file that you can enter in a particular folder. But assuming you use another name apart from index for this naming of your component there like that, then you have to, you see that it will add that name as part of it, because it doesn't know about that name. But index is special to any folder there like that, which means that the default file is going to give you anytime you don't specify the file you are looking for. You know, there's still another file there. We have this style.module.css. But if you just go to this folder and you do not specify the file you are looking for, it will give you the index by default. So that's why you know that the stuff is coming from that place like that. And if I save it on our page there, we should have, as you can see, it's now showing layout now. But now the content that we pass into this layout, we want to see it, not the text that is inside this layout. So what do we need to do? We need to receive the props. And you know, these props here is what is going to be sent to your component anytime you pass stuff directly to it. Even if you don't pass anything to it, the props is going to be empty objects by default, because we have to use to send everything that you pass into this your component through these props here, where you can do your prop one, and this is the value one, then you can have prop two, value two. But how do you get the one that is in between the opening and the closing tag? That's where the children comes in. So that one is a special props that you can use. And I'm going to destructure the stuff, which is something I've explained in the class that is explaining the stuff. So I will just receive the children, because that's the only thing I need. And that children that is coming in, I want to display it somewhere like that, which is going to be inside this div like that. And if I save everything, you see that we are now seeing the content like that. So the props here is object. So I just destructure it, extract what I need from it. And don't forget, this one too will be sent later on once I save this one. But since I'm not receiving it, then it's not going to do anything with it. And since it's useless for us, so I'm going to remove the stuff like that. So what do we need to do next? We need to import our CSS inside this file. So I'm going to go up, then I'm going to do my this, which is going to be from I'm going to import this my style dot modules dot css like that. So we have import styles from where, so from this same place, to style dot module dot css like this. So if I save it, nothing is going to happen yet. And what is this saying? So resolve, I think I call it styles, so not styles, but say cannot find the files. Yeah, because that error means you can't find the file, and I was putting S. If you look at it, there's no S in the name there like that. So now we can give this one the class name, which is going to be this styles dot wrapper like this. And what is a wrapper? So that wrapper is what I'm going to style this box here. So this is the wrapper. This is what I'm calling wrapper. So inside the wrapper, that's where you are going to send the content. And if you look at the wrapper, it's stopping at the particular side like that. And you can check the mobile. You see that it's the same thing too on the mobile. And that's why I say I'm not going to be focusing much on the mobile, because the styling is just the same thing. The only thing we just need to do is to limit the width of the box so that it's not just expanding anyhow. So on the mobile, it's going to be 90%. As you can see, it's not covering the entire stuff. But on the desktop, it did not go past a particular width like that. So and inside that wrapper is where we're going to do all those our styling. We'll move it to the center of the page, and you do a lot of things like that. So what do we need to do here? We just need to go into that our styles. So I'm going to close all this other one that I'm not using right now. So when they get to their time, I will bring them out there. So inside these modules, so I need to create that class, which is what we call it. So which is a wrapper like this. So what you want to do, let me just give background color of red so that you see that it's actually working. And as you can see now, it's applied. And don't forget, this class here is going to add some random name to it. So which means that it's not going to be anything like clash. Even if you are using this particular class somewhere, it will never override whatever we are doing here, because we are using the module CSS that we've talked about in the previous class here. But this background is not going to be this. The background is going to be a linear gradient one there like that, which is going to be, it have like the light one here, and it have the darker one down here. So how do we do it? You already know how to do that, which is going to be our linear gradient. So we just need to pass the color. So where is the color coming from? The colors are coming from that our index dot css like that. So let me open it from here so that I don't open something else. So here, if we look at it, we've already created our variable here. And these are the two colors, I think. So we have this dark blue, and we have that very dark blue. So this dark blue is the first one. So I'm going to pass into it like this. So but you need to call it as a variable. And that's the reason why I created variable. See where the variable is being defined. But we don't need, we just call the variable here. But since it's going to see the two CSS, then it's still going to work here like that. Not that we do copy and paste from there. It's only the only thing we just need to do, copy the name of the variable, use it. But if you need to make any changes later on, you only do the changes from here. And anywhere you are using your variable, it's going to change automatically. So this is the advantage of variable rather than you doing copy and paste. So for the other one, it's going to be very, yeah, bring it out, very dark blue like this. So if I save it, we should have a gradient color going on there. But this box is on, let me give it a definite height and width for now. I will remove it because I don't want to give it any definite height, because I don't want the thing to be changing anyhow. So, but for now, for us to see what is going on, I will give it a definite height of maybe around that 300 pixels, but I'm going to remove it now. So for the weight, by default, it's going to be 90%, like that. So which means it's not going to cover up the entire screen. But the spacing here is supposed to be shared between the left and right. So we can use our margin inline. That is going to be auto, which means margin left and right. So that spacing should be shared between left and right. Again, to the max width, because I don't want this thing to keep expanding anyhow if I go to a bigger screen. Because right now, if I go to a bigger screen, it will still be expanding like this. But this is not what I want. I don't want it to be like this. So what I can do is to limit the width maybe to around that 500 pixels. So when you have a screen that is less than 500, it will be using 90%. But when you have a screen that is greater than 500, it's going to limit the stuff to 500. And I can see that this thing is still wide because if you look at it here, this one is not that it's not up to this size, so I can use maybe 450 and see. Assuming we have the Figma design, we can just go there and you see the actual size, but we are not given the Figma design, so you have to use it. You have to look at it yourself. And I think this one is okay for now. If I want, I can change it to 400 later on. As you can see, a screen less than this particular max width, it will use 90%. But if you have a screen greater than this, then it will go to whatever you use. And as you can see here, I'm handling the responsiveness here directly without using media query like that. So this is another way of doing this in when the design are the same on both the desktop and just that the width is what is different. But if the layout is different, then you have to use your media query to change the stuff like that. Again, too, for the heights, I'm supposed to use auto for that one too. So let me just use margin auto. So like this, and I did not get what I'm expecting from it like that. So for this wrapper, because there is something I want to do. I want this box to be at the center. So and it's not there right now. So how do we move the box to the center? We can come back to this our body. Then we can talk to it that we want to display it as a grid. And once you display it as grid, you can place item center. And once you place item center, it's going to center the box horizontally, and anything that is inside it that is not up to the height, it will take it to the center of that parent like that. So this place item center is the same thing as align and justify at the same time with grid. And if I save it now, as you can see, both vertical and the horizontal, but on the horizontal is already we already undo that one, but we are using the parent to undo the vertical one so that it's at the center, so that it can be like what we have here. And if I expand the browser, you see that it will always go to the center of the box like this. So that's what is going on there like that. So if I take this thing back, we should have this. So close this one and don't need it again. And we can go back into this style modus. So inside it, if you look at the design, I think it's having border radius. So there is a border radius, and this gradient is not like this because now I think this one is taking a lot of space. But first, let's apply our border radius that place. So for the border radius, I'm going to use around that 1 rem like this. There should be a padding inside the stuff. So padding should be around 1 rem too, but we need to have a space inside the box like that. But this gradient is supposed to be like this. It's supposed to be in diagonal, but what is happening now is from top to down like this. So we can go back to our gradient and we can just use to where are we taking it to? So from here it's going down. So it's going to bottom right. So it will start from here and it will come down to this place. Because the color are too close, so it might not do. But if you look at it, the stuff is actually coming from here and it's going down here. But I don't want this one to take a lot of space because if you look at it, this light one actually stop around here or around somewhere here. It now starts transitioning into the other one. I think it's okay like that. But here, I will just do this thing. So let me give it 45. So get to around that 45 first before you start transitioning into this thing. Or if I want, I can just give this one maybe 15. Let me see 15 because mm, color is too close, but I can come back to this one later on like that because this one I have more strength than what is going on here. So what if I give this one maybe like 75 like this so that from here because I want this black one to take more space here than the other one because if I remove this one now like that it's kind of still close but let me see. I think this one should be okay for now. Like that. So what do we need to do again inside our box? And I don't think we need to do anything again. But my color here it's really dark compared to this. So if we want, we can just sample this color, sample the one here, and then apply them like that. But I will go with the one that is there currently now, but I can increase it later on if there is a need for that. But I will just go with this in that way. So the next thing we need to do is to work on this entire content here. This entire content here. And again, when we are done with the entire content, we are going to work with this one too. So this one that is here. So I'm going to be creating a component for them, which is something I've already did I create that? Is a component created for that? No, I don't have that component yet. So what I need to do now is to create a component, and the name of the component is going to be step. So it's going to be step one. I'm calling it step one. Step one is where you are going to pick the rating, while step two is where you are going to see the result. Or if I want to maybe I can call it rating like this, then the other one is going to be results. So it all depends on the naming, but whatever naming you are using, it should always close to what you are using it to do. So that's why you see that this one is rating circle, or you see this one is button, whatever name you want to use, always make sure that it's kind of close to what they are doing like that. So that when you have a lot of components later on, when you are looking for a particular component through the name, you'll be able to locate the component quickly rather than you opening the file one by one before you see what is going on inside them. So I'm going to call this one rating. So inside it too, I'm going to have index.jsx like that. And at the same time, I'm going to have the style dot module dot css. That's this one you see that I'm creating folder because each one of them are going to have their own style and index. So they are not the same thing. What is going on here with the layout is not the same thing as what is going on here like that. And I want this thing to shut up because it's telling me that I did not put a type on this thing like that. So I need to disable this stuff that is bringing out there. Forget about this one. So it's just to disable this message that is bringing out. And I do because there's some setting that has been set up like that that we don't really need for now to be doing the typing. So I need to disable these rules that is telling me that I have not no, where are you going to? So the rules should be here. So where is the rules? Where are the rules? Where are the rules? So it should be here. I don't need this rule that is setting, so it should be off. So off means that don't tell me that I've not do that stuff. No, off like this, like that. And if I save it, we shouldn't have that error message again once everything is connected like that. Disappear now. Let me check the name. Did I put the name? Yeah, I put the name correctly. Yeah, so you can see the error has disappeared. So this one are two links that have been set up to kind of guide you on what to type and where to type the stuff. But this one now is telling us that we need to specify the type of the value that we want to receive from children, which is not what we are actually dealing with right now because we are dealing with basic stuff. We are not the advanced part because when you're working on a project later on, and you're working on a bigger project, it's always good that you specify the type of the value that you are going to be expecting from that particular place. So if I open this project I'm working on, and if I open some of the stuff here, as you can see at the top here, I'm specifying the type of this text. So I'm saying it's going to be Boolean. So which means anytime you want to use that stuff, you know that what you're expecting from it will either be true or false. You never get anything. Again, to look at this one, it is a string. This one is number and all those kind of stuff like that. So, but we don't need all this one for what we are working on right now because it's just a simple stuff. When you're working on a bigger project, you always work with something like that. So that's why I have to turn it off because we don't need it. So that we won't be bringing an error that we don't really have in our project like that. So now let's go back into this our app dot this thing. You can disable this error too because as you can see, anytime you don't use anything, it will bring out the error. We import it, but we've not used it. But I will leave this one because this one is useful for us. So anything you've not used, it will tell you that you've not used this thing. So either you remove it or you use it. Not that you just be importing what you don't need. Like that. So I'm going to create variable. I'm going to create our state here. So the first state is going to be step like that. Then set step. I've talked about all this thing before. And this one is going to be use states. Use state, not user states. Use states. And what is going to be this one is going to be step one like that. So is that going to be step one or it's going to be step two. Or if I want, I can just call it stage. So which stage are you currently on? So set stage, like that. So you always use name that is describing what that thing is all about. So from the second one, we need to know the rating that you pick. You know, the thing will be showing 1 or 5, 2 or 5. So how do we track the one that you actually click? So we need a stage for that, which is going to be rating and set rating. So by default, it's going to be nothing, so it's going to be use state, and it's going to be -1. Or if I want, I can just set it to 0. So which means you've not really picked any states at all, like that. So we have rating and we have set rating. Then based on these two things now, we want to conditionally render our content here. So if the stage is step 1, show that rating component. But if the stage is step 2, then show that results component. But right now we don't have anything there. So let me just save this one. We'll come back into it. So inside this layout, I don't think I need this layout again. So it's modules too. I don't need it because I'm done with what I need to do with that layout. So we have this one, which is we need to create our function. But instead of me creating this in every time myself, I can actually use some tooling I've installed here for my VS Code here, like that. We have the toolings that you can use. So there, which is the ES6 feature, so which is coming from your extension. So if you go to the extension, you can actually download this extension, which is this ES7. So this ES7 extension, oh, no need annex, it's not going to come outside, but all my installed one are going to come outside. And under the installed one, we have this extension known as ES7 React Snippets. So this one comes with some snippets that you can just quickly, just like the way you type exclamation mark, that give you the structure of the page. So we have some snippets so that you can use for React there, like that. That snippets is this ES7. So when there's internet, I to quickly bring it out, but I can't search because to firstly connect to internet before you bring it out. But I already have it here, so where is it? It's supposed to be under the E. Where is the ES7? Yeah, this is it. This is the extension. As you can see, ES7 plus React Radius, React Native snippets. So this one you can use it to quickly generate your component, and it's going to generate the component and export it out for you automatically. So I'll just use RAFCE. So R React uh like that. The F is the functional component. So FC is functional component. The E there is arrow function. Now we talk about different way of defining a function. So if I press enter, can you see the way it create the function? It's using the arrow method. That is so. But if I don't want this one, I can actually give it RAF. Like there's a different types that you can create. As you can see, you have the RAFCE, the FCE. You have this one here like that. If I create this, so it's going to create it with props, and that's what that thing was expecting us that time. But I don't really need all this one. So if you want, you create it yourself. But I'm going to be using this RAFCE, which is going to generate. And the way it works is that it will generate a component based on the name of your file. But since the name of the file is index, that's why it's using index. Assuming you use other name, that other name is what it's going to pick to create the component. But I need to change it because I don't want to call it index. It's going to be rating because I want to use the name of the folder, not the name of the file. But assuming you are using the name of the component for the name of the file, it will pick it up automatically and it give it to you like that. So this one here, I don't even need to import React. These days, you don't need to do this on this first line. But here, import styles, then from the same place, so style.module.css like that. So from there, we can save, and we have rating. Then from the other side, I was the one that generated this my rating. Where is it? The rating. Okay, this is the rating. Where's the other one? The result. So I've not generated that result. So let me quickly do that one. So we have the results. Then inside it we have the index .gsx like this, and at the same time I'm going to have style.module.css. See, it's just the same thing you'll be doing, and the more you do this thing, it will get used to it like that. So you can just generate your component. So to generate component, you can type it yourself, but I don't have time for that. So here we're going to have results. So and here import styles. Then from styles, you can import from other places too. Just tell it where you are importing the stuff from. So it's not that they have to be together like that. It can come from outside of that particular component or the folder. So save this one. So what do we want to do now? What we want to do here is that we want to display these results, or we want to display this rating. So there are two things we want to display, but not the two of them at the same time. We really want to display one at a time. But when? So it's based on the stage. So if the stage is step one, we want to display this rating. But if the stage is step two, we want to display results. So how do you talk to React to switch your component based on this stage? That's where the conditional rendering comes in. So how do you do conditional rendering here? When you want to condition anything, what you do is to use if, then you have your condition like this. Then from there, you perform statement one, and here you have S, and you're going to perform statement two like that. But you don't do it like that when you are dealing with, we are already in the land of JSS element. So since we're in the land of JSS element, you can't just call this indirectly like this. So what you have to do is to put them inside the calling brace so that it convert it to JavaScript. And as you can see, we don't use this if like that, because anything that cannot return a value, you cannot use it inside the JSS expression. So since this thing cannot return a value, you can't do if to render one component here or to render another component there, because they are not returning a value. And anything that is not returning a value, you cannot use inside the expression. So how do we now take care of this thing? How do we do another condition here? So one way of doing it here is by declaring it here, which is the method I don't like to use. So you declare your component that you want to use, for example, the component here. Then from there, you can now do your checking, or don't let me even go to this one. So what we can do here is to do if. So if stage is the same thing as step one. So you want to return something yeah, so we are going to move this in under it. This is one way, but I don't like this method because it's kind of a verbose. So here too, then we want to return something else. So look at what we did then. So if the stage is step one, this is what we want to do. But if it is not, this is what we want to do. But here now, we are going to repeat ourselves. Look at it. I have to type the layout again, because whatever it is happening here is only when it is step one, and whatever that is happening here is only when it's another text like that. So here, what I want to do, I want to show step two. Then inside this one, I want to show step one. So this is the layout with the text step one, and this is the layout with the step two. So if I save it now, you see that what we'll be having there is step one. So this is what we call conditional rendering. This one we want to render it, but the only time it will come outside is when the step is not step one. So if I change the state now, maybe to like step three or two or any value, you see that what we now be seeing is step two. So we are conditionally rendering this our UI based on this condition here. So this is one way of doing it, which is the way I will not be using at all, because it's too verbose like that. So there is another better way of doing it directly inside that your expression like that. So if you want to use the if, you have to put the rendering inside it. That means you have to put the return inside it, not that you put the if inside return. But I don't want to do it like that. What I want to do here is that I want to do some stuff here like that. And what did I want to do? I have the layout, because the layout is constant like that. But inside the layout, I either want to show this step rating or this results. So what did I do? I will bring my, because when you want to do any JavaScript stuff, you need to bring out the expression. So how do you do this one now? What we can do is just to put the stage like this. So we can actually ask the question here, because in JavaScript we have the conditional rendering that you can use, conditional statement, and this is the statement here. You can do the condition. So we have this condition, then you ask the question mark. If the condition is okay, you do whatever you have there, it will return whatever you have there. And if the condition is not okay, it will return everything after the stop here, which is what we talked about when we are dealing with the JavaScript statement there. So this one, it will check this condition. If it is true, it will return whatever you have here and abandon this one. But if this one is not true, then it will abandon this one and it will return whatever. So since this thing can return value, then we can now use it here, because this thing is expecting anything that can return a value. So what we just need to do is to pass the condition. And what's our condition here is this step one. like that. So if it is step one, what do we want to do? We want to return step one. Else, we want to return step two. So if this condition is true, it will return this one. And when it return this one, the layout will now be saying step one. But if the condition is false, it will skip this one, then it will return this step two. So which means layout will now be seeing step two as its item. And if I save it now, as you can see, it's showing step two. But now if I replace this one with one, you see that it's going to show step one. But we don't want to be returning step one or step two. What we want to return is the component. So what we can just do here is just to pass the component. So this one is going to be rating like this. And when it is step two, what we want to show is just the results are like that. And if I save it, you see that it will show all these one for us. But there's going to be error because I've not imported all these components. I'm trying to use them like that. So that's why it's showing blank screen. So let me import them so that we can have them on the screen. And if I save it, you see that it's not showing rating. But now if the step is two, you see that it's going to be result. And what we just did here is what we call conditional rendering. We have two things, but both of them are not going to show at the same time. And it's something you can use on your page anywhere too, or inside your component, that you don't want a particular stuff to show based on the condition. So you add this thing here, you check. If the condition is okay, do this. If the condition is not okay, return this one. But can you see this method? Look at this line. How many lines do we just use here compared to this one? Both of them are doing the same thing, but this one is too verbose like that compared to what we just quickly do here. But at some time, this is one you will use. But most of the time, this is what I always use like that because it's kind of a small compared to what you are doing here. Because if you look at it, we have to repeat our layout two times like that because you have to return separate stuff. But here, we are returning layout, but inside it, we are deciding which component we are sending down to it based on this condition like that. So we're able to handle this stuff. My time almost reach. So let's quickly work on this our rating like that. But this rating we'll be expecting because we need to update this rating. We need to update it and we need to get the current rating that is activated. So we need to send it down to this component. So the rating is going to be rating and update rating. Look at what I'm typing here. It's expecting update rating, but what we are actually sending down is set rating. If you want, whatever name you are using here, that's what you're going to use to receive. This is the value, this is the props name. So it can be the same name or it can be a separate name. If you look at it, the same rating that I'm passing is what I'm sending here. But if I want, I can just give it as a value like this. So when you want to receive rating, this is what you're going to use from this component like that. But for now, I will just use the same name, but it doesn't need to be the same name like that. So this one too, I will change it back to set rating, but they don't need to be the same name. But this is the actual stuff you are sending down to it like that. And why do we need to send it down? Is because that component is going to be modifying this value and it needs access to the value. Why does it need access to the value? Is because of the application we are trying to build. So anytime you have a particular one click on, it needs to show that orange color on it. So anyone that is active, it will have the orange color. Anyone of them that is not active, then it's going to have this color here. So how do we now know the one that is active? Is the reason why we are receiving this rating. So we are going to be receiving the value. So once the value match whatever the stuff that we are passing to it, then it's going to show the color. You are going to see just like the way we conditionally rendered our component, you can apply your style too by using condition. So if the condition met, use this style. The condition is not met, use another style. So we are going to do all this. It's not just for rendering of component alone. You can use conditional rendering for anything, whether it's your style or it is your component or it is the elements that you want to display inside that component here like that. So the result we need to receive the rating because that's what is going to know or what is going to use to know that the user actually click on it. If I go back to that element, as you can see, it said 4 out of 5. How is it going to know that it's 4 that the user clicked? So we need to send the rating to it. And since we want to make that into to go back to the previous page, so we're going to send everything back to it. But first, I'm going to send the rating so that you can understand this thing better. I will not just send anything directly like that. I only set one thing. So the results need the rating so that I can display 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 5, 5 out of 5 or 2 out of 5 and so forth like that. So you need to have access to the rating that you clicked on there like that. So we have this set rating that we have, and from there now we can now start with the each component that we need to do. But I think this result we can work on that one first because it's kind of as simple. So we can quickly work on this one. Then in the next class, we focus on this because it's already 1 hour already. So I will just work on that result. So inside the result, what do we want to show? So let me move the UI to one side so that we can see what we need to work on there like that. So move this one to one side and increase the stuff like this. As you can see, we need this image, but we've already imported that image before. It's inside these assets. So if you remember when we started this thing, I actually had them. So as you can see, illustration, thank you, like that. So how do we use it in our file? That one too, you just import it. So how do you import it? So just do import. You can call it any name, just like the way we call this one styles. This one too, you can give it any name. So I'm going to call it illustration image like that. Then from where? So it's coming. So you need to go back because currently we are inside this result. So we need to go back so that we can see the component again. So I need to move outside of component so that I can see the source because this is where the thing is located. So I need to go back again. Can you see now we have access to assets? Then from the assets, we now have access to that illustration. Thank you, like that. So we can now include this one. How do you include it? That one is the cheapest stuff because you have your image. But the way you include the image, you don't just put it like this, because if I put it like this, it will not work. This is not how you are going to do it. And again, too, we're not going to see it on the screen. Why are we not seeing it? Is because do we say which step are we having there? Okay, we have step 2. And as you can see, the image is not showing. Why is the image not showing? Because this is not how you load image. Don't forget, anything that requires JavaScript, you need to pass expression, not that you just do it like this. So what's supposed to be here is anytime you need to pass dynamic stuff, you need to call this curly brace so that it's going to treat it as JavaScript, not as again to remove this. What's wrong with this thing? So you need to remove the quotes because we are not passing any string. So here now, it will do whatever you are expecting it to do. And if I save it now, then it's going to come out. What we did here is that we are importing the image, then we pass it to the source. React and the tooling that we're using knows how to do all those necessary stuff and send it to the browser. You know, when we're dealing with normal HTML, you pass the part. You know, this is what you just send down to it. This is what you pass into this place. But now we are importing it. And why are we importing it? Is because we have it inside this asset here. So you always import the stuff, not that you just pass the address yourself like that. For example, what you can just do, you just to like, why do I need to import it? Why can't I just do something like this? Remove all this one, then pass it. No, this is how we normally do it with the HTML like that, and save it. Can you see? It's not showing. Why? Because you don't have access to what is inside assets outside of your project. You don't have access to anything. If you want to do it like that, you have to put it inside public. And when you put it inside the public again too, you don't need to put all this slash slash whatever stuff. You just call the name. It will just pick it out for you from the public. But anything that's inside assets, you need to import them like this. And once you import it, you pass the name that you're using to save it, and the tooling and the React will do all the magic behind the scene for you. And as you can see, it's going to come out there like that. If it is inside public, just call the folder inside that public, and along with the file name, it will show you. But if it is inside asset, you have to import it to at the top like this, because the thing knows how to now send whatever you are importing out there. So what do we need? We need this site. So I'm going to call it this. Let me give it results. Or what can I even call it? Let me call it the okay, results info like that. And inside this result info, we're going to have you, but this one is constant. You selected, but now that 4 is not constant. So it's something that is coming from this component because it's being sent as props. So what are we using? We're using rating. So here now we can just display it out. So rating is not double calling Grace, it should be one, then the other one out of five, because five is not changing, but this is the only thing that is changing like that. So saved like this. Again, what do we have? We have, I don't even need to give this one wrapper. As you can see now, I want to use that same name wrapper again, but this one is coming from another place, so they are not the same thing. So it will not be clashing with that one that is coming from this one. I know there's one wrapper that we put in the layout, but this one is not going into the layout. They will never have the same thing, because this one have its own wrapper, because it will add some random CSS on it, some random name. So what do we need to do again? So we have that H1, but I can see that the spacing here are kind of are close. So I'm going to create a div with the uh, greetings like this. Why am I putting them together? Is because the spacing between this H1 and P is not rhyme with this one. So if you look at this one, the spacing here is not the same thing as this one here. So what I can do is just to group the two of them so that I will do that one separately like that. So inside this one, we have H1, which is going to be thank you like this. And after that, we're going to have the P like this. And inside the P, we have this one, but I don't have time to be typing all the text because the text is already in the project. So just open the index file of the project, like me, the file. We are going to see all the text there. So you just need to copy the text. Everything that you need has been provided for you. The only is just to get the text and put them at the appropriate location there. So here's this one, and saved, and we go back to the screen. We're going to have, as you can see, it's now 0. So now if I go back to the app and if I update the value, for example 32, you see that it will update the value. So as the thing is changing from here, that component will be receiving the updated value automatically. So like that. And that's why we did not create it inside this one, because this one need it, this one too needs it. And since they need it, it needs to be in their parent. So the parent will not be the one that will send it down into all its child component like that. So this one should just go back to 0 by default like that. So we can now do our styling for these results. So we have the wrapper. So this one, I'm not using this method. This is not the method I'm supposed to be using. So styles, then dot greetings like this. Don't forget, we want to put everything in this our module CSS. Again, too, this one is wrong. This is not where it's supposed to be. This is how it's supposed to be. So this one should be styles. But it's going to complain because you cannot use iPhone. So what I'm going to do is convert that into uppercase like this. Is there any other thing that we need to give class? I will talk to all this one directly from that place. So this one should be illustration like that as the alt text that is going to show if the image is not showing, or we know that the image is going to show like that. I thought I've disabled this. No unused variable. I've not disabled no unused variable. So let me just remove this react because we don't really need it. That's the reason why all this one too are complaining like that. So we don't need the react. So again, to this one too, I'm going to give it the class name. I will come back to this one later, but I don't want it to be complaining. So I will give it this wrapper. You can see that I'm using this wrapper a lot, but they will never clash with each other because we are using module CSS like that. And what's complaining here again? Okay, I've not set the set stage, so let me create. Let me leave that one. I'll come back to all this one later. So let's apply our CSS. So let's open our modules, and the first thing we have there is a wrapper. So display as flex because I want them to be stacked on top of each other, and I will give that kind of a spacing that I want there. And what is going on now? CSS, don't slow down. We need you. Yeah, see now something is trying to load here. But I've disabled my network, so let me type it myself. Display flex like this. So flex should be yeah, as you can see, it's going to put them side by side, but that's not what we want. So flex direction should be column like this. So the gap should be, but there's going to be a problem here. I thought I removed that in 1.5 area. Can you see? Now I give it a specific height that time, and that's why I say we are not going to be giving that layout the height because it will be expanding according to the content inside it. But because there's no content that time, so that's the reason why I have to give it a definite height of this. I said I will be removing this thing later on, but I forgot. So let me remove it. It's supposed to be expanding according to what is inside it, because all these things they are smart by default. The height is smart. So based on the content that is inside it, to keep expanding. But if you give it, then it will stop at whatever you give it. So I need to remove it so that it doesn't do that nonsense. So let's go back to our CSS. So we have this gap of 1 rem like that. This image is really large. It's not supposed to be up to that. So, and did I give it any image? I did not give it any class. So I can actually use this to select it. So the wrapper like this. So the image that is there, what is the height of the stuff? Let me give it maybe 150 pixels. I don't know. I think it's okay. Then the width should be 150 pixels like this. Or if I want, if I don't want this thing to be doing nonsense that is doing, so I will only do one so that the other one will adjust automatically. Because I don't know the portion of the image. So assuming I know the default size, I can just bring it out if I want. Like that. But it's supposed to be at the center. All the content supposed to be at the center. So align items, align items should be, all this thing is just normal CSS. All this thing is just normal CSS, so it will take everything to center. Again, to the text align should be center because text too is supposed to go to center. What's wrong with this? Center like this. And if I save it, the text will go to center, and I'm doing it directly from the parent, so I don't need to start doing it for each one of them like that. So what do we need to do again? We need to talk to this one here, and I gave it a particular class, which is going to be this results info, like that. So select it, and if you look at it, it have a particular color, and they did not give you that color. It have a lighter version, like it have the color that is inside the text is the same thing as the back, just that that one is light. So how do we do it? We'll show you how to, but first let's put the color, which is going to, what's our color? The color is orange. Don't forget we created a variable for all these things. So if I call it, even though the variable is not defined yet, it will still see it. That is the power of variable. So, and if I change it, if I go to where the variable is defined, anywhere you are using that variable, it will update all of them automatically there like that. That's the power of a variable that you are seeing, because variable, when you define inside one CSS, is going to show in the other CSS too, like that. So here now, this is the orange. So if I want, I can just, this is what we're going to do for that background one. As you can see, it's affecting it directly, even though, and that's the advantage of variable of a thing. So I'm going to create the light version of this one, like that. So I'm going to duplicate the orange, but they did not give us that one. So what I will just do is orange 2. It's still going to be the same thing, but what I will just do is to apply the alpha channel, and I'm going to try this 0.3 first, like that, which for older browser I need to put ASL the 8 here. This is the transparency level. As you can see, it has come down to around that 0.3, and that's what I'm going to use as the background. So if I go back there, the color is the normal this thing, then the background is going to be then orange. Orange is going to be 2, and if I save it, then so I just need to update the lightness of the color there like that. So if I go back to it, then let me update this one. It's not going to be 53, it's going to be 85, like this. And if I save it, as you can see, it's changing. Or let me use 95, because I want you to make it a lighter version. Again, to this one should be around that 0.1, and I think it's okay like that. So which is going to look like what is here, but we need some padding and border radius around the stuff. So here we need padding. Top and bottom should be around that 0.5 rem. Left and right should be 1 rem, like this. I'm just using some random value until it will be okay like that. And I think this one is much, 0.75 rem, like that. I think it's okay. So border radius should be around that 3 rem, because I want it to be a curve edge, like that. What's going on? Yes, good. Well, let me type my thing. So this is going to be around that 3 rem, and if I save it, as you can see now, it's turning it to circle, it's turning it to that edge, like this. So what do we need here? I think that's all for that one. So we can now come into this section. So what do we call it? We give it greetings. So So this one too, I'm going to display it as a flex, which is going to put them side by side by default, but that's not what we want. So flex direction should be column and gap. Here the gap we use is 1.5, but this one is going to have a lesser gap, maybe around that 0.875, which is 14 pixels, like that. So this one is around that 20 pixels. So this is 24, but this one is 14. So which means the spacing in between the two is not going to be up to all this one here, like that. And I think all this H1 by default, yeah, I think I've removed it. Again, to let me see the, I did not use the color. So inside these greetings, we have the P, like that. Inside the greetings, we have the H1. So the color of this one should be var our white. So there's a variable called white. Then inside this one, is it touching the edge like this? I don't think it's touching the edge like that. It's not getting it. I think it's the padding from the container itself. And I think this container to have look like it have border. Look like it have border but of the same color. But I will just leave it like that. That's not a major thing. So I think we are done with this one. For this P, let me use a font size they asked us to use, which is 15. So 15 pixels, but I don't like using pixels. I'm going to convert it to rem. And why do I love to use rem? Because when the user change their font setting, it will recalculate the new value, like that. So as you can see, but to me, it looks somehow. It looks somehow. This edge looks like the spacing is not much. So let me go to that. Why is this one not saved? Let me go to back to our layout. That spacing is not enough to me. The left and the right. Let me see. Where did we apply this stuff? Well, yeah, I use one REM. So the left and the right should be around that 1.5 by, like, or let me just even use two sets for everything, like that. So it's going to create that more space around it. Not that the thing is now jam packing. And as you can see, we are done with this one. So the one we are going to be working on next is the other parts of it that is going to be next class, like that. But before you get to next class, I want to create a function that is going to, or we are not even done, sir. We're supposed to be able to go back to that step one from these results. Because we mentioned it that we want to have a text here that we can click that will return us back to. So since we want to have something, I'm going to create a button, and this one is going to be back with a class back, but I don't want to give it back class. See, what's going on now? Oh, I'm not going to do it myself. So this is going to be back, like that, and I'm going to give it the class name. This is going to be styles then dot back, like this, because I want to use the orange color. You see that it's giving my button the style I don't want, so I need to remove all those nonsense. So I'm going to have the back. So the background should be transparent like this. The color should be orange like this. The cursor should be pointer like this. So saved, and the border too is there. Border should be on like this. So as you can see, it's there, but anytime to the back over, then the opacity should be around that 0.5. Just reduce the opacity. So so that it give you the feeling of you're actually on top of the stuff. But it's too fast. So opacity should just be one by default, and the transition opacity should take around that 0.5 or around that 1 seconds to complete, like that. So which means it's going to slow. So it's going to give this kind of nice transition of the stuff. So what do we need to do? Anytime we click on it, we want it to change the steps. But don't forget we are receiving that set step. Because if you go back to, yeah, I did not receive it. Yeah, I did not receive it. As you can see, if you go back to the stuff, let me close this one. We don't need this one right now. what is this one? So this is the result. So if you look at it, the only thing is receiving is rating, but it's supposed to receive this stage because it needs to update the stage. So we need to send this one to it so that I can use it too. So set stage, then it's going to be set stage like this. And what do we want to do? So anytime we click on this button, we want something to happen. So let me add the on click on it. So what do you want to do? I want to go back. So this is the function I want to call. Don't forget, don't call the function. It's the on-click that is going to call it. So where is the function coming from? So first go back like this, which is going to be a function. And inside this function, we want to do something like that. So we need to receive this set rate. And once we receive it, what do we want to do? We want to set it to step one. So don't forget the set state. So anytime you click on this button, it will call this function. And then what is the function doing? It's calling this set stage and it's setting it to step one. So if I save everything, so because we are done with this result, nothing else to do again with this result. So if I click on this, go back now, as you can see, it will set it. Again, too from here, we now create it and it will update. So which means this one too supposed to get the set stage. So we need to set this set stage. We need to send it down to this rating. But the rating two is one that will set it to step two. The result is setting it to step one, but the rating will be setting it to step two, like that. So which is something we can pass into this one too. So and in the next class, we work on this because this is where the major work is on the rating. Because we want to have a lot of things. And what it is going to happen there? So what is going to happen there is that once you click on this button, it will update this rating to one. If you click on four, it will update the rating to four. If you click on two, it will update the rating to two. And if you now click on submit, it will now update the step to two, like that. And that's what we'll be doing in the next class. And all with the styles, because we need to conditionally render some style here. So any one of them that is active, the color is going to be orange. The one that is not active, this is the color is going to have. That's what this thing is showing you here. If you look at the active state, so this is what is going to be there for the active one. And the one that is not active, anytime you hover on it, this is what is going to be. Again, too, we are going to work on this button like that. So this is where I will be stopping. Change this one back to step one. By default, it's going to be on step one. But later on, once you do everything, once you submit, it take us to step two, like that. So that will be all.